If you are 18 to 35 years old and feel the call to full-time ministry, I've got exciting news. Revival Today Bible Institute this fall, September 2022. If you feel the call of God into full-time ministry, a strong biblical foundation is essential. However, education alone is insufficient. Sound biblical training coupled with the power of the Holy Spirit is the vital dynamic duo. God has called Jonathan and I to open up a training school that offers live, on-campus classes to equip the next generation in fulfilling the call of God in their lives. Revival Today Bible Institute's mission is to raise ministers of excellence who deliver the gospel of Jesus Christ in word and in power. Will you join us? Will you join us in seeing this generation transformed by the gospel of Jesus Christ? If you want more information or you want to apply, go to revivaltodaybibleinstitute.com. I love you. See you there.
Hello, everybody. I've got some exciting news. We are in the process of launching a faith-based credit union, and so we'd like to welcome you to fill out a survey that is going to be used in the application process. You can go to revivaltoday.com/credit union and fill that out. And thanks ahead of time for filling it out and being a part of this great journey in the world of finance.
Brother Jonathan, Sister Dallas, everyone at Revival Today, this is Stephen from Feed the Hungry, and I want to say thank you for your missionary heart to reach the least of these with the gospel of Jesus Christ. We are in Montaña de la Flor this week. It is a mountain range in Central America, and it's home to the Tulupan, an indigenous people group. Let me share a little bit more about them. They're an ancient people that are tied to the Mayan Empire, and you can see it very clearly in their features and their faces and in the way they live. They are so far removed, hours and hours from the nearest town, the nearest medical clinic, the nearest supermarket, the nearest place to get anything. They live and exist up in these mountains as a forgotten people. Well, these mountains are their home. It's a place that's been hard to penetrate with the gospel, but because food has been introduced through missionary friends over the last 18 months or so, there's been great inroads in bringing the gospel to the children and to the parents and to the communities as a whole. Thank you for allowing food to be a little key that opens up great big doors to bring hope and a future to the least of these. And you know, when Jesus spoke to his disciples and said, "When I was hungry, you gave me something to eat, and when I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink," the disciples said, "Lord, and when did we see you like that? When did we see you hungry? When did we see you thirsty?" And Jesus looked at them and said to them, and he says to us today, when you've done it to the least of these, when you've done it to the forgotten, the overlooked, the ignored, that was me. You did that to me. So thank you for being the hands and feet of Jesus to bring food, hope, a future, the promise of eternal life through the salvation that comes through faith alone to a forgotten people. Thank you for reaching them. And thank you for reaching over 400,000 children so far this year with food and a future through Jesus Christ. God bless.
Guess who's back again?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to Check the Market. How's everybody doing?
How are
Michael,
you doing, Patrick?
Ninja, I'm doing great.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Even though it looks like I'm crying,
He's not crying.
I'm not crying.
He's not crying.
I
Not really.
jabbed myself in the eye I had an itch. I was watching a movie on Saturday evening, and I had an itch Sunday evening. And I had an itch in my eye, and I was so focused on the movie that instead of like scratching my eye, I jammed myself right in the eye for some reason. So it's not pink eye. I'm not crying. I just jammed myself right in the eye. So
Patrick's hurting.
if it looks like I'm crying today, that's the reason why. I'm not that upset over the stock market, even though we got wrecked yesterday. But yeah,
such is life.
Ninja, Leslie, Kenny, Christophorus, John. How's everybody doing? And yes, if you did see the commercial, we had a commercial up for the credit union. We're currently in the process of getting that all up and started, and we need everybody who's interested in becoming a part of that credit union to fill out the survey on revivaltoday.com/credit union. That way we can submit that to the NCUA as part of our application process. Yeah, I was in the bathroom beating myself up like Jim Carrey. No, it wasn't that bad. Even though, well, I mean, it was.
Take it down about 2 notches.
Yeah, it's been 3 days.
It didn't look bad yesterday at
market.
church.
What's that?
Your eye.
My eye? No, it was Sunday night when I.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, the markets.
Yeah, but we'll get through this together.
Yes, we will.
That's what Check the Market is here for.
Like everything else.
I'm not worried about it. Am I buying the dip? Possibly. I might have yesterday. And yeah, we'll get back to the highs that we were at as soon as the Fed turns back on the printing presses.
Exactly.
All right, what's going on in the world, Mateo? What you got for us?
Let's check it out. I'm no economist, but when the line on graph goes down, you put your hands up and go, wee.
Yes.
Exactly. That is suitable for today.
Yes, that's good.
Next. Study shows kids who are homeschooled could miss out on opportunity to be a gay communist from the Babylon Bee. For darn accurate. Next. From Michael Dixon, shame on Ireland's leaders for the company they're keeping. From Richard Kemp, among the many countries that lined up to condemn Israel at the United Nations Human Rights Council today were these bastions of human rights: North Korea, Syria, and Iran. Oh, and Ireland. It's very telling as to where countries really stand when it comes to the UN Human Rights Council, based upon their votes. We know that anybody who blesses Israel will be blessed, and Ireland is currently tanking. So, just something to look out for. Next. Adverse effects of COVID-19 vaccines and measures to prevent them, Virology Journal. As a safety measure, further booster vaccination should be discontinued. COVID-19 vaccination is a major risk factor for infections in critically ill patients. Now, this is merely a comment on the website. I went and looked a little bit deeper into it, but the fact that this is still up on the website is astounding to me. And I'm guessing it's because a lot of different virologists are coming to this conclusion. So if we can blow up that picture at the bottom there, it says, as a safety measure, further booster vaccinations should be discontinued. And in conclusion, COVID-19 vaccination is a major risk factor for infections in critically ill patients. The whole thing is an interesting comment that they had here on the website, which is still up, and you can go read the whole thing for yourself. Next. From the Epoch Times, a package of gun control bills introduced by Democrat lawmakers passed the California Senate Appropriations Committee. Several of the bills were proposed or fast-tracked in response to recent mass shootings. So many governments being very reactionary in their policies now. They've wanted to do this. Different policymakers have wanted to push gun control measures for a very long time, but it's very telling when government leaders are reactionary to a situation. It's never a good thing, and it's not proper procedure, especially in the long run when it comes to policy agendas. Next. According to this, the government is also expected to announce dropping vaccine mandates for civil servants, which will come into effect June 20th. Incredible if true. From the Toronto Star, breaking: unvaccinated Canadians will soon be able to fly domestically and overseas as the federal government is dropping its COVID-19 vaccine mandates. This just came out, like it says there, last 10 hours. It's to yet be confirmed officially, but potentially today or tomorrow those announcements will be made. The issue still lies with the privacy issue when Canadians or anybody wanting to go into Canada, they have to download this invasive app called the ArriveCan app. And when they download that, you can never get it off your phone. Even if you disable it, it never leaves your phone. It's like Facebook on your phone. You can only disable it.
What if I throw my phone in the river?
Well, that's one way of getting rid of it.
There we go.
Do like Patrick does.
Just buy a burner phone when you're traveling to Canada. Put it on.
That works. That works.
And then leave the phone in
Leave
Canada.
the phone in Canada. There's always a loophole. Next. Education czar threatens to fine university institutions for taking Chinese money. We won't read it, but happy that this is happening over in Britain. Something that needs to happen in the United States as well. Trump started moving on this in the US. Canada is infiltrated, like, to the hills.
By the Confucius Institute?
Yes. It's pretty bad, actually. It's pretty darn bad. Like, places here in the United States, Georgetown, Harvard, Yale, etc., all accepting funds, and it's pretty sketchy as to where that money is actually going. Next. The exodus from the National School Board Association over their attempts to label parents as domestic terrorists continues. Nebraska has become the 25th state to leave the NSBA. Let's make it 50. So from Breitbart, do we have this article by chance? Yes. Cool, let's see it. NSBA faces backlash after a letter to Biden administration comparing angry parents to domestic terrorists. Continue. The Nebraska Association of School Boards has become the 25th state to break ties with the NSBA. The NASB Board of Directors unanimously voted Saturday to formally sever ties with the NSBA, sent a controversial letter in September of 2021 to the Biden administration comparing actions taken by angry parents at school board meetings to domestic terrorism. The NSBA sent the letter to President Biden in September of 21, requesting a joint collaboration between state and federal law enforcement to look into threats against school officials. Furthermore, the NSBA requested that actions should be examined under the Patriot Act as domestic terrorism. Continue. The Nebraska group confirmed they will not pay dues to the NSBA this year. The Omaha World Herald reported on May 24th, the executive committee voted to recommend to the board of directors that the Nebraska Association of School Boards not renew its membership in the NSBA. And it just continues to go on and on about this situation. But 25 states, I thought that was pretty darn impressive, seeing as this has been an institution for a very long time in America at this point, at least in recent generations. Next. A survey of monkeypox cases by the UK Health Agency has found that 151 out of 152 participants are men with, who identify as gay, bisexual, or men who have sex with men. So monkeypox, the stats in the UK anyway, is 99% of the cases are related to those sorts of individuals. Just the facts always resonate with a lot of people these days. So can't get around this one. Can't get around the data. But there you go. Next.
So this is from Charles Payne.
Good guy.
Who is he's a host on Fox Business. Joe Biden in 2020, no more subsidies for the fossil fuel industry, no more drilling, including offshore, no ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period. It ends. Thanks, President Biden, you showed them.
Dang.
So, Fox Business, Charles Payne coming out swinging there, which I haven't seen as many politically charged tweets as I have recently from him, and so I think this was interesting. So, thanks, President Byron. Next. Here, this is from yesterday, a heat map of the stock market. Fiery but mostly peaceful economy.
Dang.
Yeah.
Chinese flag right behind him.
Fiery but mostly peaceful. Next. CEOs of General Motors, Ford, and other automakers urge Congress to lift electric vehicle tax credit. I wonder why. What do you recommend about oil stocks? Well, this is just my personal opinion. But when I see everybody in the news hyping up oil stocks, it's time. I sold out of all my oil stocks. I don't hold a single one anymore.
Really?
Yes. I made profit on all of them, good profit, and so I'm out.
Wow.
So even if I miss out on the next, 20%, next 10 to 20% of them going up, that's fine. I made profit, I'm out. I'm not going to stay in till it hits the very top and oil crashes or whatever, demand is, yeah, so demand destruction is accomplished. So that's me personally. But if you feel like you should continue to be in your oil stocks, then do that. Or if you're in it for long term, if you're in one for a long term, you've set yourself a 5 to 10 year horizon on it, then you need to stay in it.
Oh, markets are open.
Markets are open. The Dow Jones is up 82 points, NASDAQ up 90, S&P up 18. It's nice to see green after all those days of red.
The red weekend.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Oh man, it was bad. Oil is up 122. Gold is down, silver's up slightly. Do we even want to take a look at cryptocurrencies?
Yes, of course we do.
Let's take a look.
Because it'll change in the future. We'll remember this moment.
Bitcoin, 22,419. Ethereum, 1,221. XRP, 32 cents. Cardano, 51 cents. Dogecoin, 5.6 cents. Avalanche, $16, but it's up 8.42% over the last 24 hours. Litecoin up 4%. Litecoin got hit pretty hard. They were delisted from some South Korean exchanges due to privacy regulations, things like that. Not too bad. BNB coin up 2.5%, 225.82. Not too bad. But most of the bloodshed in cryptocurrency was yesterday. Buy the crypto dip. That's a good question. There might be some more pain ahead for cryptocurrencies.
What makes you say that?
Just the overall sentiment in the market. I think that it might not be as fast as it was yesterday because the majority of people that were shook out of the market yesterday.
Right.
So people that just got, with it dropping as fast as it did over the weekend and then yesterday, a lot of people sold. Right. And what I've been seeing on Twitter is like, I'm not getting back into crypto again. I'm not doing that. So what they did is they bought, then they sold. I've lost a lot of money. There was one, I sent a tweet to, here, let me pull it up real quick. It's just like a joke. But last Thanksgiving, I convinced several of my extended family members to invest in Ethereum when it dipped to 4,000. Planning on skipping this year's Thanksgiving dinner. So things like that. So it was almost like on the index, you hit capitulation. where it's like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
So at that point, it could go down a little bit further, just because it hits some like technical levels where it could go down a little bit further. But I think that, it's slowly going to come back up. We could potentially be in a bear market. We are in a bear market in cryptocurrencies now. I don't know how long that's going to take. If I could time the market, that would be great. But I don't know how long that's going to take. It can only go to, it can't even go to 0, Sandra. I know that, the lowest it can go is 0, but at that point it would be like, like Shiba Inu 0.000 something. Could Bitcoin hit 0? I don't think it could hit 0. I think, yes, Michael, I think that that USDC coin is going to be the official stable coin. I don't think that there's a bunch of exchanges that stopped trading in Tether. Alex has been buying the dip for a year. Oh, man. Yeah, but I mean, this is just more in the news because more people are in it. And so the last crypto winter that we saw, there weren't as many people in it. When should we buy? That's a good question. I have continued to buy cryptocurrencies all the way down from, all the way up and then all the way down. There's a certain amount that I buy every single month of Ethereum, Bitcoin, and XRP. So, yeah, my returns are negative too on a lot of it except for Bitcoin.
Oh my gosh.
All right, let's see the article.
Michael.
CEOs of General Motors, Ford, Chrysler's parent Stellantis, and Toyota North America are urging Congress to lift the federal government's cap on number of vehicles that are eligible for a tax credit of up to $7,500, a move they say will encourage consumer adoption of the cars and trucks. In a joint letter Monday to congressional leaders, the executives say the credit, which begins phasing out once a company sells 200,000 plug-in electric vehicles, is essential to keep the electric vehicles affordable as production and commodity costs rise. Eliminating the cap will incentivize consumer adoption of future electrified options. GM and Tesla, the industry leader in electric vehicles, are the only companies that have exceeded the limit so far, but other automakers are also expected to near the 200,000 mark as they release an array of new electric products. The letter, which was first reported by Reuters, instead recommends a sunset date for the tax once the EV market is more mature. So they want government subsidies to buy electric vehicles, which I think you should just let the consumer decide instead of giving these credits. Next. I'm buying and holding. There are cryptocurrencies, there are times when I trade where I just do like a short-term buying and selling, Alex, but the majority of my holdings are long terms. So I'm just averaging down. My main reason for buying XRP is because it's being used by a lot of different countries are working together with XRP to use their infrastructure for their CBDCs, their central bank digital currencies, and a lot of banks are using it as overseas are using it as interbank exchange. That's why I'm holding XRP, because I see a potential in it. Next. Bitcoin drops below 21,000 briefly as crypto sell-off continues. Next. As stock enters bear market, Wall Street holds calls to buy the dip. Let's see the article. Investors ready for a buying opportunity to emerge in these volatile markets may need to keep waiting and waiting. U.S. stocks have suffered their biggest year-to-date losses since at least the 1960s. That's ignited calls to buy the dip. Whaley, BlackRock Investment Institute Global Chief Investment Strategist, wrote in a note Monday, "We pass for now." U.S. stocks on Monday officially closed in a bear market, with the S&P 500 falling 22% below its January record high. Yet even after this drawdown, stocks probably have more choppiness ahead, and that's made the case for staying on the sidelines compelling for the time being. BlackRock's past casts doubt on near-term viability of your formula investors have successfully abided by for more than a decade, namely that buying a dip in the stock prices will generate a reliable return. Continue. So there's the graphic. Markets continue bumpy ride in 22 amid record inflation. Next. As recently as last year, a buy the dip strategy has amply rewarded investors. The S&P 500 jumped 114% from its March 23rd, 2020 low during the pandemic to its January 3rd high at the start of this year. The blue chip index also avoided logging any 10% corrections over that period before finally dropping to meet that threshold in February. There have been some early signs dip buyers were starting to nibble at stocks at the beginning of this month. Fund investors increased their U.S. equity holdings by $13.4 billion in the week to June 1st, according to data from the investment company Institute. But diving in on the dip now is likely premature, as BlackRock and others have pointed out. There are still good opportunities out there. Where are we at here? Still up slightly. I got some options contracts yesterday when it hit all-time lows on the S&P 500 and the Dow. So we'll see how that pans out. I think over the next couple of weeks we could see a little bit of a couple of green days for sure.
Where should people be looking right now, primarily for jumping into the market, if
That's a
they're
good question.
considering? Don't have to answer now.
No, I think there are good companies out there. I think if you look at companies that have good cash flow, that have a big pile of cash, right? So if they're talking about recessions, those are the ones that investors will look for. They look for companies that sit on large amounts of cash, and that have good cash flow. So companies like Apple, United Healthcare, Pfizer's in that group as well. So there's companies like that you can take a look at. And then Apple, what they just did when they went into the buy now, pay later.
Right. Yeah.
So that even if there is a downturn, people can still buy their products, pay them later, and Apple is actually acting as their own bank. So they're not using any other banks as intermediaries. They're using their cash pile against those loans that are going to be taken out.
Dang.
So they're really putting themselves in a good position there, but they are a tech stock, and so there's not a lot of love for those out there.
Right.
But I think that could potentially be good for them.
Good advice. Thanks for that.
Thoughts on ADA? That's Cardano. A lot of them up 13% today. That's not bad. There's still use cases for a lot of those. We'll just have to see how it plays out here over the next couple of days in the crypto markets. A lot of the coins that came out, a lot of the companies that started, basically just to enrich their owners. I don't know if those are going to be around for the long term. There's already some that are being shut down overseas. But like I said before, make a list of stocks that you would like to buy. Companies that you believe in, companies that you think are going to be around for a long time. Make yourself a list and then wait until you can find a good entry point for those. Or if you're already in them and you're invested long term, you can buy small positions. Tomorrow the Fed is going to decide on an interest rate, and so that's something that the market is waiting on as well. to see what happens there, because they were saying it could be 75 basis points, 0.75% raise, potentially even a 1% raise on interest rates. So that's what I believe JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs said that yesterday. Continue. We can go to the next article. Fed likely to consider a 0.75 percentage point rate rise this week. Officials had signaled plans to raise interest rates in half-point increments before recent deterioration in data. Continue. A string of troubling inflation reports in recent days is likely to lead Federal Reserve officials to consider surprising markets with a larger than expected 0.75 percentage point rate increase at their meeting this week. Before officials began their pre-meeting quiet period on June 4th, they had signaled that they were prepared to raise interest rates by half a percentage point this week, and again at their meeting in July, but they also had said their outlook depended on the economy evolving as they expected. Last week's inflation report from the Labor Department showed a bigger jump in prices in May than officials had anticipated, and then this morning, the producer price index, I believe, came out as well, and it was 10.8%. I think I have that article as well.
Whoa.
Before officials began their pre-meeting quiet period on June 4th, they had signaled that they were prepared to raise interest rates by half a percentage point this week, and again at their meeting in July, they had also said their outlook depended on the economy evolving as they expected. Last week's inflation report, two consumer surveys had also shown households' expectations of future inflation have increased in recent days. That data could alarm Fed officials because they believe such expectations can be self-fulfilling. Continue. The Fed raises rates by half percentage point at its meeting last month, the first such rate increase since 2000, to a range between 0.75 and 1%. The Fed last raised rates by 0.75 percentage points at a meeting in 1994. When the central bank was rapidly raising rates to preempt a potential rise in inflation. So when is it time to buy stocks like from decades-year-old companies, Coca-Cola, etc. at a discount? I mean, a lot of them have already gone down. So you can take, what I do a lot of times, if I think there's a bottom where people are buying again, I have $1,000 allocated to buy Coca-Cola. So what I'll do is I'll take $250 and I'll buy in. I'll buy in a quarter, or I'll take $500 and I'll buy in. And then if the stock goes down again, then I'll take the other $500. And if it doesn't, if it keeps going up, then I just put it in.
Right.
And I pay a little bit more for it. But that's just a strategy that I sometimes take for buying stocks. That has helped me out. There are a couple of timber companies, John. The ones that I took a look at, I liked WY, Weyerhaeuser. They're fairly cheap. A lot of these are real estate investment trusts for timber that own large timber, large parcels of land of timber. Thousands and thousands of acres. But PCH, RYN, WY, and then there's CTT. You can take a look at those, see if there's any that you like. Sandra bought her first home on a VA loan with an interest rate of 13.5% in 1983. So rates, even though they're up at 6% now, over 6%, we've been spoiled with the interest rates that we've had recently, which historically wasn't like that.
Yeah.
Now, I think I said that in the last show as well. There's so when people are freaking out about the interest rates, these low interest rates that we've seen, it's not the norm in most markets.
It should be the norm.
It's easy. Well, it's easy. It should be.
It should be.
It's easy money in a society that's run on debt. Continue. We can go to the next one. Wholesale prices rose 10.8% in May, near a record annual pace. Let's see it. The wholesale prices rose at a brisk pace in May as inflation pressures mounted on the U.S. economy, Bureau of Labor Statistics reported Tuesday. The Producer Price Index, a measure of the prices paid to producers of goods and services, rose 0.8% for the month and 10.8% over the past year. The monthly rise was in line with Dow Jones estimates and a doubling of the 0.4 pace in April. So that's a pretty big rise there, but there is no surprise because CPI, the Consumer Price Index, rose as well at the highest level since, 1980 something? Are all the rate increases for this year already priced in the market? I think they are. If the Fed, I don't know. I mean, I was looking at it. If they price in, now that the news is out, 0.75%, I don't think it's going to do anything to the markets. I think it's already priced in. So it's not going to be a surprise. Now, if they did, 1% or 1.25% or something like that, that might shake the market, but it might also give the market confidence.
Really?
Yes. Because okay, now the Fed is doing something to fight inflation.
Yep. That makes sense.
So that could, versus if they came on tomorrow and they said, oh, we're cutting interest rates again. That could spook the markets. Because it's it's because the economy is falling too quickly.
Right.
We're possibly entering a recession or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
And then that might actually spook the markets. They're so temperamental.
They are.
That's why it's good just to have a couple of companies that you invest in, a couple of companies that you watch. If you pick, if you have 20 companies that you're looking at, you won't be able to find a single company that is... You can't study a single company too well. So you want to have a list of companies, good companies, companies that you believe in, that you invest in and that you watch, especially if you're starting out. One company, two companies, just watch them. You'll get a feel for their, for the way the price moves on that company coming out, news coming out on it, whatever. You'll get a feel on the way that company moves to, in the beginning you should just invest. You shouldn't trade. Until you get a solid understanding or a good foundation in the markets and understand what's going on, then you can start trading. At that point, you want to start swing trading. And so you'll get a feel for the way the charts move, for the way the company's price moves, and you can buy and sell. You can buy and sell and make some money that way. But you want to make sure that you just have a couple of companies that you're following, that you're watching, and learn the way the price moves, learn their products, are consumers happy with them, things like that. That's my my tip of the day. I didn't find any stocks to invest in that I'm going to recommend. Now take a look at companies that have good solid cash flow, companies that other investors, institutions are looking at, that they're invested in and that they really haven't sold a lot of their positions on. You can even take a look at insider ownership. If you go to FinViz, you can take a look at insider ownerships, because during times of market turmoil, companies that have a large amount of insider ownership generally do better than other companies, because there's management has skin in the game. All right. If there's any companies you'd like me to take a look at, you can put those in the comments, and I'd be happy to take a look at them for you. The markets are still up. Dow Jones up 69 points, NASDAQ up 11 points, and the S&P up 7. See what happens there at the end of the day. If you'd like to invest in Revival today, I'll give you an opportunity to do that now. Here are the ways to give. Hashtag donate on Facebook, Revivals Day /give, RT to 50155. You can Cash App, RT Give, Venmo at RT Give, and revivaltoday.com /PayPal for PayPal. Scan the QR code for cryptocurrencies. If you'd like to donate any cryptocurrencies. We also accept checks. Revival Today, P.O. Box 7, Prosperity, Pennsylvania 15329. And then the offer today is, do you guys have that book? There we go. Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. The shortest and surest way to understand basic economics. So I believe everybody should have a basic understanding of economics. And I just finished reading this book. It's a great book. It's more along the lines of Austrian economics with F.A. Hayek and von Mises.
What's the
from the Mises Institute?
what's like the youngest reader age for this book, would you say?
This book is very easy to understand.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
I think even if you're just entering high school,
Yeah.
you can read this book and understand. They
Yes.
explain things very well, and they make you see. A lot of it is just economic. It's just economic principles. This book actually goes into detail and gives examples, and I like it that they, a lot of economists now look at the short term, like what can happen in the short term, and they don't look at the long term consequences.
Yeah.
And so this book goes over that and shows you exactly if you only have a short-term outlook, then you don't know what's going to happen down the road.
Yeah.
And down the road, whatever economic policy you're doing right now could have disastrous consequences. And so this is a good book. We'll send that to you as a thank you for investing in Revival today. By Henry Hazlitt, Economics in One Lesson. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Market's cranking. It's going back up now. Dow is up over 100 points. So we'll see what ends up. Go out there and make some money today. And we will see you all tomorrow.